From the glory days of the NWA to the birth of the WWF's family entertainment era to the Monday Night Wars and the rise of AEW, this is Wayback Wrestlemania, where we cover everything in the professional wrestling world with your hosts, Adam and the Emerald Enthusiast.
Welcome to another episode of Wayback Wrestlemania. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me is my co-host, Donnie. Donnie, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, wrestling fans? It's the man whose ring runs on fanboy energy. It's the Emerald Enthusiast, and we're back to cover WrestleMania 38.
Yeah, I saw, because we're doing WrestleMania 38, would this be the most stupendous episode of Wayback Wrestlemania that we've had so far?
I hope it doesn't take 2 days.
Can you imagine?
I think we're going to be a little bit loopy if we try to do 2 full days of this.
Yeah, oh yeah, can you imagine? That would be insane. But yeah, as you can maybe tell, we're going to review and share our thoughts about WrestleMania both nights, Saturday and Sunday. Let's not give Vince any ideas.
Don't give him any ideas. They'll make it a 3-day event. They'll start on Friday.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing both nights of WrestleMania, and yeah, let's get right into the showcase of the Immortals, and let's talk about it.
Okay, so let's talk about night number 1. It kicked off with the Uso brothers against Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs, or Bugs, or whatever they're calling him. This match, for me at least, I didn't like the build-up toward this match. Yeah, I just didn't think that this program got the attention that it deserved, because when it's your top tag team, you want to give them somebody else that is, a hot match, a much anticipated match. I really thought this is where they could have stuck in like the last, the ultimate final match with the New Day, but instead we got Nakamura and Boogs, and again, it wasn't a bad match in and of itself. I just think that everybody looked at this, and I don't think anybody thought that the Usos were really threatened here.
There was no doubt in my mind that they weren't gonna come out still the champions. I'm just kind of perplexed, Donnie, as to why Shinsuke Nakamura is treated as this comedy act. Like his entrance is ridiculous. He's flopping around doing dumb crap, and I don't understand why, because he's such a skilled individual in ring. I don't understand why they have to resort to some comedy act with him.
Well, for a while they were booking him well.
Yeah,
he was a featured performer.
Yeah,
and it's so indicative of WWE over the last 15 or 20 years. They have a couple of good ideas for a performer, and then the creative team seems to run out of ideas, and then they just let them languish doing meaningless matches where one person wins one week, the other person wins the other week, and nothing really means anything. And for Nakamura, he's somebody that I really think that there's an endless amount of possibilities for him.
Yeah, agreed.
And at times we've seen that, but being in a tag team match against the Usos in, again, a program that didn't have the most, anticipated build-up, I just think they could have done more with him and more with the Usos.
And what are they trying to do with Rick Boogs?
Whatever. He's another one of these wrestlers who I don't know what he's supposed to be. He plays the guitar.
Is he like knockoff Elias? Because
again, a rock star is a gimmick, but just coming out and playing the guitar and doing nothing else, that's not a gimmick in and of itself.
You're not honky tonk man, buddy. And no offense, I feel bad that the guy got hurt. He injured himself. Yes. But are they trying to push this guy? Because I just don't see it. Like, almost as much as I think he's not versatile in ring, I can understand why they're trying to push him. Big, intimidating, threatening, the whole 9 yards. Rick Boogs looks like, again, no offense to the guy. I feel bad that he got injured,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his actual in-ring skill is because I haven't seen much of it. For weeks, all I've seen him do is play Shinsuke's entrance music. But like he looks like some knockoff Elias Rick Rude hybrid, and I'm like, what? Who plays the guitar? And I'm like, wait, what is this? Like, what are we going for here? It doesn't make sense. Again, the big story here is he got injured,
right?
And I feel bad for him because you never want to see that happen to anybody. But I don't understand this pairing. It makes no sense. They don't look like they're going to be championship contenders or are championship contenders. It's much like the pairing of Omos and they call him Omos. There's no A in his name, so I call him Omos because I'm sorry, there's no A in his name. But much like that tag team, it was AJ doing all the wrestling, and so like to me, you have good tag teams. Let showcase it.
No, I would agree, and at least in Omos's case, Omos is green. He's still a little green.
Yeah,
they're building him up. I mean, he's obviously got a big feud on the way now with Bobby Lashley. We'll get to that in a little bit. But with Rick Boogs, I couldn't tell what they were doing.
Yeah.
Omos, you can see is Omos is a giant. You have an idea of who he is. With Rick Boogs, I didn't know what they were doing with him and where this character was going to go.
Yeah, that's my confusion.
Yeah.
Like, what is he?
Yeah. Much like we talk about with Matt Riddle, sometimes. What exactly is he doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there have been a lot of, undercooked gimmicks in WWE over the last, 15 years or so. We've seen a lot of people come out, and that's just it. They come out and they do one thing, but there's no development beyond that one thing.
Yeah, so, it's like, all right, guitar, great.
Yeah. And certainly we hope that Rick Boogs gets better and comes back, and whether it's with this gimmick or a different gimmick, that we wish him success. So.
But to me, there was no spot that really made me go, wow, what a moment, what a match. It was just.
Yeah, there were a lot of matches on this card, I would say, that were like threes. They were good matches, but not necessarily memorable.
Yeah.
And then there was one that I'm going to rant on later on. And
I have a feeling I know which one that is. But
anyway, so I won't curse, I promise. I'll keep it PG-13.
Is there anything you want to mention about the particular match at hand other than the injury?
No, I mean, obviously it got cut short. It only went 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
Do you want to just talk about the injury, speak on what happened? And then...
Why don't you give him a little bit about the injury? Because I saw him carried off. And, what exactly happened? Because I saw what I thought happened, but was it his ankle?
No, it was his one of the muscles, not his Achilles, another leg muscle. I can't remember what muscle it was. But all I know is that...
It was a leg injury, like the Achilles, the calf? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He tore it, I think.
Okay.
And... but
Achilles takes a while to heal.
When you're trying to lift two guys on your shoulders, I presume he was gonna, do a slam type of maneuver. But I mean, the Usos, sure, they're not individually like huge, like they're not both Yokozuna, but the combined weight of the two of them, it has got to be what? Maybe 500 pounds between the two of them.
I think they're about 470 together, something like that.
Yeah, so close to 5. Yeah, you put in all that weight in your shoulder. Mm-hmm. You're asking a lot of your legs to keep you up.
It reminded me of a few years ago, the spot with Cena where he put Big Show and Edge both on his shoulders.
Yeah, that's asking for it.
Yeah.
So,
but Cena, no matter what you think of Cena, and I'm not a huge fan of Cena in the ring, that guy was just inhumanly strong.
Yeah, he's a beast.
So,
yeah. So it's unfortunate, and it's funny because it's not funny. I just saying.
Funny as in ironic. You're not saying
it's ironic that a few minutes earlier, I think he was doing a work spot where his leg gave out. So, and he went down to one knee, and then it actually happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, or maybe that was a precursor to
The injury itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was a precursor or if that was indeed a work moment, and then unfortunately.
Yeah, I certainly couldn't tell what happened when it happened. I just saw him being carried off, and I thought, that doesn't.
He went down to one leg real quickly, and
Yeah,
then
I'm like, that doesn't look like a worked injury. This doesn't look like an angle. This looks like something that's actually developing here. So.
Okay. Yeah, so that was it was unfortunate. Nothing really spectacular about the match. I don't know what to give this match, to be honest with you.
Well, like I said, it was a 3. I mean, the Usos did a lot of their regular spots. They're always good.
Yeah.
But I think there were a few matches that you could say on this were average to a little bit better than average, but not special. So I would say this was a good match, but not the best way to showcase either Shinsuke Nakamura or the Usos.
Yeah, I'll give it. Look, it may be a little harsh. I'm gonna give it a 2.5 because I really don't know what this match could have been had there not been an injury. I mean, maybe it could have been even better, or not, or maybe it would have been the 3 that you gave it. But because it wasn't a full match and it was literally 2 guys carrying the load, it's kind of unfair for me to even give it a 3. So 2.5 for me.
Okay, next up we have Drew McIntyre against Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss.
Yeah.
And by the way, just in case we didn't make it clear, obviously, I assume everyone's seen WrestleMania at this point. The Usos retained.
Yes.
This one was a singles match that I haven't been a fan of this program either. I just think that Drew McIntyre is a little bit too valuable to WWE to be
he deserves better than this. Yeah.
Yeah, to be in this kind of match. I mean, you think about where he's been the last 2 years, he's been in the title picture.
Yeah.
He won the title 2 years ago. Last year, he had a great match with Bobby Lashley where he didn't win the belt. But you look at this, and I'm like, this is one of those cases of they have a certain idea of where a guy is going to go, and then when they finish up that program, sometimes they lose, the narrative. Sometimes they lose the direction, and I think that's what happened here.
Yeah, it's just like I don't understand. Like I get that while Lashley was the champion, they had that stipulation that if you lose, you can't contend for the belt as long as I'm champion. Well, he's not champion anymore.
Right.
Right. So that should be null and void. Yeah. But even if it's not the world championship picture, because now it's unified. For now, it's unified. And I use that quotations lightly because who the hell in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Is it going to be unified?
Yeah, it's been unified and split multiple times before.
Right, yeah. So who knows? But even if it's not for the world title, because you don't want to put him against spoilers, Roman. Why not give him a shot at the U.S. title, the Intercontinental title? Yeah. He deserves one of the singles titles.
Yeah,
he shouldn't be languishing around with Happy Corbin and what's the guy's name?
Madcap Moss.
Yeah, and look,
who by the way won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, which I didn't think. No,
good for him, but
sure.
But it's like, I don't understand why. Like, look, there was a period where Vince was pushing Roman to be, the face of the company, whether the fans wanted it or not. Turns out that persistence paid off, right? Because now the fans are on board with what he's doing.
With a pretty major tweak.
Yeah, right. But that persistence was pretty worthwhile.
Sure.
With Baron Corbin, why do they continually push this guy? I don't like it. I'm sorry. I find no value in him. I think Omos has a better future than him, and you know what I think of Omos. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm tired of seeing Baron Corbin, Happy Corbin, Sad Corbin,
right.
Corbin with minimal hair, Corbin with no hair. Like, I'm tired of Corbin. I want him off my screen.
I don't dislike Baron Corbin, but I just don't think that this
He
was
bored
okay. I don't think this was the way to showcase Drew McIntyre.
it's an
I
absolute
think
way.
there was enough time given to non-wrestlers and bad matches that they certainly could have found something better to do with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
When my favorite thing in the match, when my favorite spots of the match are Corbin getting the finishing move there.
The Claymore.
The Claymore. Thank you. I couldn't come up with the name. Corbin getting kicked in the face, and the ropes getting slashed by a sword. When those are my, that's the highlights of the.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment too, and that wasn't really part of the match. That was just a visual after the match. So,
like again, I don't even mind this Highlander gimmick that they seem to be going with Drew McIntyre. I like it. I like Highlander as a movie.
People, the crowds love Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, and I like. You want to give him the Highlander gimmick? Sure, go ahead. But there are a couple of people that I could legitimately believe could knock Roman Reigns off his perch. Drew is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he languishing around against Baron Corbin and Madcap Moss, or whatever the hell his name is? Mm-hmm. Only Moss I care about is Moss Man from Masters of the Universe. So that's about it.
Well, Roman's worked some house shows against Drew McIntyre in recent months, and so I thought that maybe there was something that's going to happen. Maybe they would make the match with Roman and Brock a triple threat or something like that, but they decided just to finish this program with Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin.
Thing is, I don't know if you saw. Yeah, I watched SmackDown right this week, and it looks like they're now putting Drew with Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
and again, I'm like, why?
I would have preferred that over either match that we got for either one of those guys at WrestleMania.
No, but what I mean is, like, to me, unfortunately, see, I think Drew would be better suited on Raw, and here's why. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Because now Edge has that faction, or spoilers. We're gonna get to that, but he's starting a faction.
Right.
With him and Damian Priest, right? And probably some other people along the way. What better guy to challenge and disrupt and conquer that evil faction than the guy with the sword, pretending to be Highlander?
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that seems better than Sami Zayn or Baron Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think McIntyre would be better served on Raw.
Yeah.
And the fact that this guy carried the company as champion during the pandemic, the throes of the pandemic, because unlike the idiots around me, it's not over. But in the throes of the pandemic, he was. This guy deserves to be a champion with people in the crowd.
When you have a featured performer in their prime, you always find a good program for them at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
that's my firm belief.
The sad thing is, Drew McIntyre got a better match in the toy video you did with him against
Kofi Kingston, or no, it was the Miz, or was it the Miz?
No, you were having him beat up some fictional character. I don't know who he slammed, but I thought it was hilarious. But anyway, so yeah. It's unfortunate, but yeah, the slashing of the ropes with a sword.
Yeah, that was
says
cool.
To me that sword is actually quite sharp.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be underneath it. I tell you that. So
yeah.
So yeah, McIntyre wins at 8:35.
Yeah.
All right, then we move on
what,
to.
What would you rate this? 3?
Again, a 3. It was a decent match.
Yeah, that's fair.
It wasn't anything spectacular. It wasn't bad.
No,
there was only one match that I thought was really bad, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But next up, what was your rating?
Yeah, it's a 3 for me.
Okay. Next up, we have The Miz and Logan Paul against Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah. Look, I was ready to go into this match and hate it because Logan Paul, I think the guy's a clown, personally. But I got to give him, look, when you do something skilled and it's done well, I got to give you props.
Mm-hmm.
He was surprisingly good in the ring.
I'm going to agree with you on this. I only know Logan Paul. I've seen a few highlights of him fighting. I don't know much about the guy. I know he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But I like the fact, number one, that he looked like he belonged. And the fact that The Miz turned on him at the end. Because I'm always going to root for the wrestler over the outsider. When these celebrities, to me, when the celebrities come in, 9 times out of 10, they're heels to me. I don't want to see a wrestler get the best of them.
Yeah.
And when Miz did that, I cheered. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But no, he didn't look out of place at all. The Mysterios were the Mysterios. They're awesome. Dominic, Dominic needs a lot of seasoning. I don't know how long he can survive as a viable wrestler without his dad. They're going to have to find something for him.
I think they're going to have to eventually have him turn on his dad.
They've got to find some. I think they could put him in a mask and do something.
But he's got to earn the mask. That's the
But it makes me think about, and somebody will talk about later, like Cody Rhodes. I think they need to find like that gimmick for him that really is something unique.
Stardust the sequel, because
I'm sure Dominic doesn't want that.
I know Cody Rhodes doesn't want it, so he's not doing it. And listen, in the back of his mind, Vince is trying to get somebody to do something along those lines.
Yeah. So, but no, this match went, The Miz and Logan Paul actually defeated the Mysterios in 11 minutes and 15 seconds. This, again, it was a good match. I gave this one a 3.5, a little bit better than the 2 before it. Again, not anything overly memorable, but I did like the fact that The Miz turned on Logan Paul at the end.
So the spots of the match for me were the back-to-back, frog splashes from the Mysterios, but also the one delivered by Logan Paul. Again, that was a very well-executed frog splash.
Yeah.
And he did the Eddie Guerrero shimmer, which was nice.
Yeah, when he did that, when he was doing what the Three Amigos, the suplexes, the crowd did not like that. You can tell that he had done his homework. So
but it was, he's the heels, of course. But you gotta give him props for paying respect and executing them well. So kudos to that. And I wonder if they're building a program to where maybe a SummerSlam, we're going to see The Miz against Logan Paul.
Be interesting. Yeah.
Because I'm growing. I'll tell you what. I'm really growing to like The Miz, even though he's the heel. And I'll tell you why. I watched his. I don't know if you've seen it. It's on Peacock, but I've been watching the WWE series Evil.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed his episode, The Miz's episode, because you see all he did to get into the business and just how he can make people. He's kind of like the WWE's version of MJF, if I'd have to say.
Sure. Yeah. Well, a lot of people have made that comparison.
Yeah. Man, would I like to see those two in a program.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you want to punch in the face more, MJF or The Miz? But right now, my answer is still MJF. Every time I see that guy, I want to punch him in the face.
I would love to see those two. I'd like to see them as a tag team. That would be amazing. But it was nothing too memorable, but I like I like what we saw at the end. And it wasn't too painful. And again, it went 11 minutes and 15 seconds. So
so solid stuff there, solid response, and 3.5 for me as well.
Okay. Then we move on to the WWE Raw Women's Championship match, and for me, any problems I had with the previous matches and any issues that I had with the rest of the card, and there were other matches that I liked, this match made the whole event worth it. I wasn't a fan of how this feud started out, but I was a fan of what we got on Saturday night when Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch clashed in what was an immensely memorable match.
I agree.
What are your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts is, simply put, these two ladies are incredible workers, and this is tied for my match of the night. Maybe, look, maybe I'll decide at the end of the actual show. Maybe it's tied for my match of the whole 2 nights of WrestleMania.
For me, it was match of the year contender. I think that it was the best match on the show. I like this program because, again, it was booked seriously.
Yeah.
You know, despite the fact that, at times Becky Lynch can be a very funny, persona. She can have some really snarky comments. Obviously, Bianca Belair brings this like effervescence, this very childlike energy sometimes to her character. But the way this was booked, especially going towards the end, with the angle with Bianca getting her throat hurt and the with her cutting some of Becky's hair, this was a grudge match in addition to a championship match. That's what you want to see at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
a big payoff, and that's what this was.
Absolutely.
There were so many good moves in this match, a lot of back and forth, a lot of near falls.
Yes.
A couple times I thought maybe Becky was going to win. But the way that she did it at the end with her trying to, Bianca is quote unquote lifeless and she's pulling her up, and all of a sudden Bianca hits that flip right into the KOD, which was thunderous, by the way. The whole ring shook. Bianca Belair is an extraordinary athlete. She is amazing, and the two of them together, they created something special. And by the way, if you think women aren't tough, the fact that Becky accidentally hit Bianca with that with the flip and then hit her with her heel and blacked her eye, and the fact that Bianca's eyes swelled up and she couldn't see out of it, but she kept going. And you saw how her eye, she had that shiner the next night.
Oh yeah, it was.
And that had to hurt, and she kept going. And I like the fact that when she won the belt, like she fell back down and clutched the belt like she had been in a battle.
Yeah.
So both women, I thought it was outstanding efforts, and the crowd was into this, and I just can't say enough good things about this. 5-star match for me.
And they both got really good entrances. I like the entrances.
Mm-hmm.
The big, splashy, the fanfare.
I went back and watched the band entrance 3 times. I thought that was just amazing. I just loved it.
It was. And Corey Graves is taking a lot of heat for what he said, but
yeah.
Like, to me, like, generally, maybe the guy just had no idea what the hell was going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, let's not make everything into a cancelable occurrence.
Right, yeah. But I just want to say this, that, right now in WWE, at least, Bianca Belair has become my favorite wrestler as far as the women's division. But Becky Lynch is somebody who, she has a massive following, too. I don't think the crowds want to boo Becky Lynch. So I would say, now's the time.
I think they're going to turn her at some point.
Yeah, find something for her to do, because
what if she goes? I think she's one of two things is going to happen. Either somebody else is going to come to the forefront and challenge Bianca to the point where, like, Bianca's getting beat on pretty good, and then Becky runs in and helps her. That'll be the turn. Or Becky's going to go over to SmackDown and rekindle her feud with Charlotte.
Could be, yeah.
And those two have some actual real heat with each other. So.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah. It was funny. It was not long after WrestleMania, I found an interview with Bianca and Montez Ford. And she talked about the night she met Montez, and this has nothing to do with WrestleMania, but I just thought it was funny. She said the first time she saw him, she was with some friends, and she said, "That's a beautiful man there. You better keep me away from him." And we all know how it worked out. So
I guess they didn't. They didn't do a good job.
I guess they didn't. And of course, he said that he still loses his breath when he's around her, even though they're married. So it's very nice couple. And like I said, you hear a lot of dysfunctional things that come about because of the wrestling business. Dysfunctional marriages, dysfunctional friendships. That seems to be a place where two people found one another, and it just comes off as really authentic and beautiful.
And by the way, I like that they keep it modest, and they largely keep it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
As opposed to over on AEW. See, and people say I give crap to AEW when it's deserved too, and here it's deserved.
Yeah.
As opposed to AEW, where you have Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti getting obnoxiously ridiculous with their PDA on screen. Like, okay, you're together. You're wrestling between the sheets. Good for you. Nobody cares. Let's move on.
Well, now I will say this: I don't think that WWE is going to be. I don't think they're always going to keep it behind the scenes, but I don't ever see them going over the top.
There's a way to do it where, not like if they're coming out and he wants to hug her or kiss her, or whatever, that's fine. But
I could see a mixed tag in the future at some point where
the levels that they're doing it in AEW with Tay Conti and Sammy Guevara, it's ridiculous. It's a turnoff.
So at 1910, one more time, the EST is victorious. She is now the Raw Women's Champion.
And that was, so far of the matches we covered, it was the longest.
There you go. Exactly.
But yeah, no, the finisher was my spot of the night because it felt like you said, that was loud. And like the ring.
Becky had to feel that because, like I said, Bianca she hit that move hard, and again, that's what you want to see. It's WrestleMania. You want to see the big payoff, and that's what we saw. So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So next up, we get Cody Rhodes coming out as Seth freaking Rollins' opponent.
Now, I will say I was a little bit fearful that, oh my God, what if they pull a swerve and it's actually Shane McMahon? That would have been the biggest letdown in the history of.
Yeah, I would have been with you on that. Had Shane McMahon showed up, I was just, there were already too many non-wrestlers participating.
I was waiting for Here Comes the Money, and I'm like, please no. And thankfully, the money stayed in the back.
Cody Rhodes, at least with WWE fans, he seems more popular now than I ever remember him being before, he left for AEW. Did you hear that they sold out of the Cody Rhodes T-shirts that weekend that they had printed for WWE?
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And this match, by the way, was for me was my second best match of the whole
event. This is the one that's, by the way, five for Bianca and
oh, yeah.
Becky. And this was my tied match of the thing. Of the whole, maybe the whole event. Like I'll see if anything from night 2 tops these two. But as of right now, this is also match of the night tied with that one. And what I liked about it was Seth really sold. Like, I don't know who it is. Like, who's it gonna be? And I gotta give Seth credit because they played it the way they did with the mystery, and he's only going to show up at WrestleMania. Seth had to carry this whole build-up by himself.
Good point.
Cody couldn't be involved because the mystery of. So, with that being said, good for Seth to be able to have that. Because you generally were like, all right, let's see, let him come out. Like, everybody was excited to see that entrance. To confirm what everybody thought was going to be the case. Like, the anticipation was there, and Seth sold that very well.
Yep.
And I was not like the level of pop that he got when he came out. When the theme song starts and it says wrestling has more than one royal family. The crowd was wow.
Right. Yeah, the crowd reaction, you certainly have to say that Vince McMahon made the right move by signing Cody back.
Yeah.
Because, again, the pop that I saw, the pop that I heard for him was bigger than anything that I remember in WWE before he went to AEW. So,
right. But again,
I thought it was great.
Even Cody will tell you, he was still green, raw, if you will, not raw the program.
Right.
Back then, right? So it was like he even admits he over the years he's gotten better and progressed as a performer and so there's no denying now at this point that Cody Rhodes is a star.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So
and I think they brought him back the right way as the Cody we had seen in AEW, the American Nightmare persona.
Sure.
To go back to something like Stardust would have been stupid.
Right. Yeah. So he was a little raw. He took some time to, smack down and get ready for prime time.
Yeah.
So.
Unfortunately, not on Saturday night's main event. It's Monday's main event, so would have been serendipitous if it was Saturday. Can we bring back a meaningful Saturday wrestling show?
Yeah, I would love to see a Saturday night main event again. It's been a while, so yeah. But so this match ended. Cody Rhodes got the pin on Seth Rollins at 21:40. Go ahead.
The spot for me, the spot of the match. It was not the three crossroads, although those were cool. I love that move, but the Cody cutter, it's a diamond cutter off the top rope, but the Cody cutter off the top rope was the spot of the match for me. That was incredible.
That did look good. The only reason why I'm going to deduct half a point is because there were times that they looked like they were cooperating. And I didn't think that Cody, being that he just came back, I thought that the first time he hit the crossroads, that should have been the end of it. Don't do it multiple times. You want to remind people just how vicious it is.
Okay.
So, again, very
minor. The
only
reason I think they did that was to keep Seth.
Well, they want to protect Seth too. Sure.
Strong, right? Whereas, like the last thing you want is Cody to come in and have a squash match against Seth Rollins.
Oh, of course not.
Right. So,
but it looks like WWE is positioning Cody already for something big. I've even heard about a feud with Roman Reigns.
Look, I think because I don't know if you saw by the way, the match for me was a 5-star. But I don't know if you saw his Raw speech.
Yes, Roman Reigns. Yes,
that was a great promo.
Yes. And Roman is always a great promo. I mean,
well, not Roman. Cody's Monday night.
Oh yes.
I mean, Roman's was great too, but Cody's was really good. The emotion where it looks like he's gonna tear up. I assume that was real because he's talking about his father. I don't think those were made up, tears or anything like that. So it seems to me like at some point we're gonna have a clash of Cody and Roman. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if the build-up to Cody versus Roman goes all the way to next WrestleMania.
Think so? Wow.
Like it's a year-long build-up, and that's when Cody takes the title.
Could be. It would have been great, though. That did go through my mind. It would have been great for Dusty to have still been around to come out and introduce Cody. But I still miss Dusty,
Oh, absolutely. I do think Cody's going to be the one to take it off of Roman.
You could be right. I mean, I don't know who else.
I just don't know when that's going to be.
Could be, yeah. Other than Bobby Lashley, I don't see anybody other than Bobby Lashley as
I don't think they're going to go back. I don't think they're going to go back to Lashley as the champion.
That's the only other guy that I can think about challenging Roman right now, and obviously Lashley's got his hands full with Omos.
The way they're positioning Cody, it's going to be Cody that takes it from him. And I think WrestleMania, because it's going to be in California, you're going to want the cachet of that big. Or now I don't know if there's any truth to this, but what if let's say Roman loses to Cody at SummerSlam, and then next WrestleMania, because it's in LA, and Roman likes to call himself head of the table and the bloodlines family. What if the big WrestleMania is one last match, Roman versus Rock?
Well, a lot of people have theorized that's what they're building to. So
because if he beats, when you talk about that family history, if you're talking about current people, in terms of popularity, it's The Rock.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean, has there ever been a bigger star to come out of professional wrestling than
and
The Rock?
just to fly the DC flag, he's Black Adam. He ain't no Marvel hero. He's Black Adam, damn it.
That's right.
But anyway, I digress. But to have that moniker and to be taken seriously, more like not seriously, but to really cement that head of that family status, the only way to do it is to have him beat The Rock.
Oh, you could very well.
Like because you could build a program where The Rock comes back and it's like, Roman, you're getting out of hand. Like this is ridiculous. And so you build that. The Rock coming back to conquer the thing. And then if you really want to cement Roman in that head of the table position, you'd have to have him beat. Because I don't think Rock is going to come back and win and have another run. I think it would be just a one-off.
Oh no, Rock is 50 now, and he's making plenty of money, doing movies, obviously. So
it would be a one-off, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, when he came back in 2013 against against CM Punk, he got hurt pretty badly in that match. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that Rock is but I do think that he could come back for one more feud, and Roman seems like the logical choice. So we could see that at some
the whole
point.
family angle, I think, would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah. So next up, we have Charlotte Flair against Ronda Rousey for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship.
Mm.
Now, for me, I think that this match should have been on the second night, because we just had,
I agree.
The standard set by the other women's title match.
The blueprint. I know.
Yeah, right.
Hashtag.
And I want to say here, and by no means am I throwing shade here, but they both worked really hard, and the match was good, but they looked a little out of sync. And remember, Ronda hasn't been around for a while.
Yeah.
And even though they've worked together before, again, it's getting into a groove has got to be hard when you're talking about, at a very high level. So there were a lot of great spots in this match, but there were a couple times that they looked like they were like, we're a little off track here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that Charlotte Flair beat Ronda Rousey, and I thought this was a very good match, but I've seen them have better matches. So
I agree. Yeah, I think it was. I'll be honest, the finish surprised me. Charlotte coming out on top surprised me. I thought it was going to be Ronda, and I think that's a good thing.
I evidently, Ronda's sticking around for a while. I think
they're gonna. I don't know
we might see her with the belt again. Yeah.
Well, no, I think we will, because they just announced that at WrestleMania Backlash they're going to have an I Quit match.
Okay.
So I could see Ronda winning there.
Could be, yeah. Obviously, more of a submission hold type of performer. So yeah.
But I like that. Like, we did see Charlotte tap, but it doesn't count because the referee was unconscious.
Could be foreshadowing.
Yeah, and so even when I like the spot they did where Ronda got the 3 count, but Charlotte had her foot on the rope, and the ref noticed just as he was counting the third, the third fall, and then he reversed the decision.
So I will say it's another example of the WWE Women's Division just overflowing with talented performers.
Well, it's overflowing because my multiverse wife, who in the real world is getting married this weekend, congratulations. But like that Dolph, I can't talk. See, Dolph Ziggler would say, I'm going to say too, it should have been me. But my multiverse wife, Alexa Bliss, on the list but not on the show. It shows that, like, why isn't she on my? No, I get it. She's getting married, but why isn't she on my TV? When is she coming back?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. Like, you had Bianca in the ring, asking for who's going to challenge me, and nobody comes up.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
like,
a little let down by that. I
I'm
was like,
like,
who's it
now
going to
see,
be? Yeah,
here's where Alexa could come in
I would
and,
love it. Yeah.
and be a challenger. But I digress. The only negative I have, the reason why I knock a couple this match down a couple pegs, it's a 3.5, by the way.
I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay, and the reason why it is because it didn't have the same big fight feel
I would agree. Yeah.
that Bianca and Becky had, and also the finish with just the kick. I'm like, really? That's it?
Yeah, and again, they just kind of plugged, Ronda in at the last minute.
Like, it would have been
And-
serendipitous
yeah.
to me had, because we saw Charlotte tapping, but the ref was unconscious. So when he came back to, what if Charlotte had won with the figure 8, and then Ronda coming out on SmackDown saying you tapped, and then Charlotte could have rebutted instead of saying, well, the ref was unconscious, didn't count. Yeah, but could have rebutted, but you tapped to the figure 8, and that was official.
Mhm.
So that it makes the I Quit match have even more power behind it.
Mhm.
If they both tapped, but one counted because the ref was in position to see it.
That's an excellent point. So,
Why am I a better booker than Vince McMahon at this point? Like, it wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
You know what I could do better than Vince McMahon? Take a stunner, apparently. But
well, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that soon. Charlotte retains at 18 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So next up,
it didn't
we
feel
got.
that long, to be honest.
Huh? Go ahead.
It didn't feel that long, that match.
No, it was a great match. It just, again, you've seen them have classics before.
Agreed.
This felt like a notch below that.
Agreed.
So we got an impromptu main event. Kevin Owens came out and continued his feud with Texas. And this time he's doing it face to face with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who had not wrestled in 19 years. Stone Cold then challenges Kevin Owens to a no holds barred match, which we got. And I'll be honest, I was worried for Stone Cold during this, but after seeing it, he obviously didn't take any chances that he hadn't calculated. And this wasn't a top 10 match like historically for either guy, but the crowd was hot and it was entertaining.
He first of all, I thought the interview portion was great, the back and forth. And, when Stone Cold was saying, I had my first match in Dallas. If you want to see me have my last match in Dallas, give me a hell yeah. And when he came out, when that glass shattered and he came out, it felt like 20 years ago. Like the sound of the crowd felt like I was transported back in time.
And Stone Cold never got that big send-off match. You remember he retired right after WrestleMania in 2003 because of the injury.
Right, yeah.
And yes, it was great for him to put The Rock over, but we're talking about one of the biggest stars in wrestling history.
Yeah.
For him to get this kind of send-off, I thought was perfect.
Certain people, their retirement match should be a win, and I think he's one of them. The Undertaker should have never lost his streak to Brock by now, and I'm still gonna listen. I'm gonna berate that decision until the end of time. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. So every time I come on here and somebody asks me about the Undertaker, I'm gonna mention that because I think it was a terrible decision. But I never anyway. But Stone Cold is one of those guys that his last match should be a victory. So I'm glad he got that there.
And at the same time, I want to point out the way they did it with Owens swinging the chair and accidentally hitting himself. It didn't make Owens look weak. It made it look like
that was hilarious. Yeah,
it was hilarious. It was done very well, and it made it look like Owens beat himself. So Stone Cold gets the victory, but Owens isn't hurt. I thought that was great.
The only thing I was worried for Stone Cold was when he took that suplex on the concrete. That was like, should you?
Yeah, when they went out of the ring and started doing moves on the floor and on the ramp, I was like, ooh, I was worried.
Again, as long as I think as long as he keeps the neck, untouched, I think he's all right.
Well, hopefully, that needs to be it. He doesn't need to wrestle anymore. There's nothing else he can achieve.
Well, tell Vince that. I think Stone Cold will agree with you, but tell Vince that.
Yeah.
Because you guarantee Vince is saying, so you want to go to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Don't tell me Vince hasn't broached that subject.
Yeah. Well, that, there are a lot of reports that Vince was concerned about the star power headed to WrestleMania, which is why he plugged Ronda Rousey in and Brock Lesnar in, and then, Stone Cold to make sure that there were enough eyes on the event.
Yeah.
So,
but that, and I got to say, look, I appreciate Kevin Owens for his talent and he plays a good heel. But listen, I'm going to be a homer here. I don't like him for one simple fact. He cheers for a terrible hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens.
I knew you were going to.
So I enjoy every second of watching him get his ass kicked. And I thoroughly was entertained every time Stone Cold drank a beer and then beat the. And how many beers did over the course of those 2 days? How many beers did Stone Cold drink?
Wow, I don't know that.
Never mind his neck. Is his liver okay? That's what I want.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So Stone Cold won by pinfall, 13 minutes, 55 seconds. The only thing I'm going to say is, for what it was, and again, it was a brawl. It wasn't a classic match. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because I think they both did as much as they could with the limitations that Stone Cold had.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Yeah. And again, they sent the crowd home happy for the first night.
Yeah. A solid 4, a solid first night, definitely.
What's up, wrestling fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. If you're enjoying this vidcast, please check out our other shows, which include The Emerald Echo, a Green Lantern podcast, Back to the Batcave, I Have the Power, a He-Man podcast, and the Marvel Masterworks podcast. And now back to the show with coverage of Night 2.
So Night 2, we get a triple threat for the Raw Tag Team Championships. RK Bro against the Street Profits, being Angelo Dawkins and Mr. Bianca Belair, Montez Ford, and the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis.
He's the luckiest. That's what we can say about him.
Yeah, he's a very lucky man. But this was a match that was better than I thought it was going to be. Triple threats don't always work out very well, but there were a lot of high spots in this. They showcased everybody well. RK Bro is over. I don't quite understand it, but I'm not going to deny it. I'm going to be objective. The crowd was hot. The way it ended was with RK Bro getting the pinfall in 11 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay, let me say this. I'm in a weird position with this situation because I don't like the character Riddle portrays.
Likewise.
He's very skilled.
Mm-hmm.
I like his in-ring talent. As a solo person, I would never cheer for Riddle to win. Because he's with Randy Orton, and I respect Randy Orton, and I like Randy Orton, as a character, as a performer, I cheer for him. But make no mistake, it's all because of Randy. And if Riddle just came in and wrestled and didn't do all the dumb, goofy surfer nonsense,
or whatever it is. That's the thing. Like we talked about.
Yeah,
I don't know what Riddle's supposed to be.
I don't know which gimmick is stupider. Orange Cassidy, stupid is not a word, more stupid. I don't know which one is more stupid. Orange Cassidy or Riddle.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to do a poll on Twitter. Which gimmick is more ridiculous?
Yeah.
But so it's weird. RK Bro, in terms of I'll cheer for them because again, I'm just so impressed with Randy Orton. I've always liked Randy, and I think he's an immense talent. And I think he's elevated Riddle for sure.
Well, and see, I thought that's what we were going to get at WrestleMania is that 4 or 5 weeks before WrestleMania, we'd see Orton turn on Riddle, and we'd have
I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I think that was probably the end game originally, but the crowd they like him.
I'd still like to see him RKO Riddle just for fun.
Oh, sure, I'm on board. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. But I did like in terms of spots. There were two that I liked. The RKO from Riddle off the top. You got to give him credit.
Impressive, yeah.
That's impressive. And also, was it Montez Ford doing the again another frog splash?
Like, his frog splash.
Was it Montez?
I'm pretty sure it was Montez who did that. Yeah.
All I know is that when he does it, it looks like the hang time is impressive, but it looks incredibly painful for both people, the GD and the giver.
Yeah.
And look, I was happy. I would have been happy with either the Street Profits or RK Bro winning. RK Bro retained again, given the fact that they're so over, like you mentioned. I'm not surprised. I don't like. I'm not fond of the Alpha Academy. I don't like this new Otis and Chad Gable is, to me, Diet Kurt Angle. And I'm not a fan. I think the name is stupid, given that there's only two people. You can't have an academy. There's two people. Yeah. What is that supposed to be a school?
Right.
Like, are you giving off that you're this impressive teacher and what's his face? Come on, what's the guy? Otis.
Right.
Is if he's your star pupil, you have no other pupils. It's not an academy.
It's like the Sith.
It's homeschool.
Always two there are.
No more, no
less.
Yeah. Call it the homeschool. It's not an academy.
Yeah.
Imagine Professor X ran around with just Cyclops. They wouldn't call it the Xavier Institute for whatever the hell it's called. It's not an institute. It's two people. So the name is ridiculous. Again, I to me, and I bet you, ask Otis, he'll agree. His best time in WWE when he was fake dating Mandy Rose.
I remember.
Can I have that job, by the way?
Sure. Well, I understand. 2 years ago, Otis was one of the hottest performers in the company.
Mandy Rose on the list.
Okay.
Carry on.
But a lot like with Braun Strowman when he was his initial hot phase, they didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah. No, of course not. And now they put him in this, and it's what is he doing here? Again, I like the ending of the match where, it was RK Bro and the Street Profits about to have a drink, and they invited Gable Stevenson in, and then Kurt Angle wannabe comes in with his stupid shoosh thing, ridiculous, and then Gable Stevenson gives him a couple of slams, belly to belly, I think it was, slams. And so that's going to be a program at some point, I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that
I'm looking forward to seeing Gable Stevenson. I think he could be. He has Intercontinental Championship potential, I think.
Oh, I think Vince looks at him and sees a lot of the same elements that he saw with Kurt Angle. So,
yeah.
Okay, so next up, by the way, that was 11 minutes, 30 seconds, RK Bro.
To me, it's a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm about the same, 3.5. Again, a lot of high impact moves. Wasn't the best program, but it was it was very passable. Yeah. It was good. So next up, we have Bobby Lashley against Omos and Omos, however you want to say it.
You want me to say Omos? Spell it with an A.
Yeah, okay. I think it's Omos, but I hear people pronounce it differently. I'm going to say Omos. Anyway.
Say one way, it's like Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul. There, right?
All right. Exactly. Yeah, like Ra's al Ghul. I like the storytelling that came out of this.
I agreed.
I know not everyone likes Omos' style, but they saved his first loss for someone really credible.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bobby Lashley, one of the biggest stars in the company.
Yeah.
This match only went 6 minutes and 35 seconds, but Omos still looks strong. Yeah. Lashley proved, Lashley, the veteran, proved that he knew that, Omos had weaknesses. Lashley gets the pinfall, but then the next night on Raw, we saw that MVP turned on Lashley.
Yes.
And so to me, it looks like between the two nights, they're still elevating Omos. So I don't. By no means was this a blow off match where, where they're gonna push him down the card.
Yeah, no, I think Omos is still getting a push.
Oh yes. I still think there's a belt in his future. So.
Probably, I get, especially with MVP by his side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see it.
Of course, when he wins the title, it'll look like this. When he holds it up, it'll.
By comparison, yeah,
exactly.
No,
so,
I like that Bobby was the one to do it. And again, I think they've done a really good job with Bobby of making me like the character. That transition from heel to now babyface has taken its appropriate course.
Well, and you have to wonder, is maybe this like the last year or so for Bobby Lashley? Because at his age, you got to wonder, eventually, does he want to go part-time? Does he want to take a break? At some point, is he looking for the door? You got to wonder that about him.
Yeah.
Because he's put his body through a lot.
It's true.
So, next up.
Oh, what would you rate? Did we rate the match?
Rate the match. I'll give it a 3.5. Again, very short, but good storytelling.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Again, Bobby Lashley's one of those guys that a very unique performer and who has just supernatural athleticism.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so next up, Johnny Knoxville against Sami Zayn. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not going to curse, but what I'm going to say is not going to be nice. So I just want to put that out there for people who may not like negativity. I like to be positive as much as I can be, but I can't be about this. So Adam, why don't you share your thoughts first?
Well, I laughed.
Okay.
I'll say that. The part I liked about it was, again, Sami Zayn. I'm not particularly a fan in general. He annoys me, which is what he's supposed to do. That's the whole point of the character.
That's his job, yeah.
So I get that. But the reason why I don't like him is, again, he's from Montreal. He cheers for the Montreal Canadiens. So any chance I could get to see him beat up is on some level enjoyable. So him getting a bowling ball to the nuts, I chuckle because that's well deserved for a Montreal fan.
Yeah.
Him getting thrown into a table with mousetraps, again, well deserved for a Montreal fan. Him getting stuck in a giant, literally, it looked like a prop from the 60s Batman show, a giant mousetrap. Him getting stuck in one of those, I laughed at an appropriate scenario for Montreal Canadian fans.
And by the way, if anybody's confused by what Adam is saying, just look at his shirt, and you should understand.
Yeah, lives forever, even though they haven't won anything while I've been alive. I digress. Anyway,
hopefully this is the year. Hopefully this is the year. At least one, just a playoff series.
One round at a time. That's all I want. One round. Come on.
One round at a time. I agree.
And if you ever want to hear me swear, you can either ask about two things: the Snyder Cut fans, or not the fans, the Snyder Cult, or the Leafs playoff success, and then you'll get me swearing. But I digress. So all those things were funny to watch happen to a Montreal Canadiens fan. But as a wrestling match on WrestleMania, this had no place on the card.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This was the worst match of the night. It was one of the worst in WrestleMania history. Look, Johnny Knoxville, I barely know who the guy is. He may be a wonderful person, but I never saw his show.
No, he's a jackass.
Okay.
Because he's on the show, the jackass.
Or, okay. I knew that he was associated with that, but I never saw the movies. I never saw the show. He doesn't look like a wrestler.
Oh, absolutely not.
And here's the thing. Vince McMahon, you sell me your talent for the rest of the year. That's who I want to see showcased, and that's who I want to see going over in a match. Not an outsider who doesn't look like a wrestler. Much like last year with Bad Bunny. Vince, it's like this.
Yeah,
like
I'll give Bad Bunny credit. He actually was able to perform.
Of course.
Johnny
And
Knoxville did no wrestling whatsoever.
Right, and the announcers kept saying, "Oh, look, it's so and so." Whoever was in Johnny Knoxville's entourage there, like the little guy or whatever. I didn't know who these people were. Yeah. And again, I hate cheap looking mud show garbage wrestling, and that's what this was. Outside of a couple of good spots that Sami Zayn did, those were the only saving graces for this match. I want to give it a 1, and I'm never watching this again. Keep the celebrities out of the ring.
On the principle of beating up a Montreal Canadiens fan, I give it a 5. As a wrestling match, I give it an absolute 0.
That's right. There you go. I like it. Completely unobjective fandom. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is what it is.
Yeah. So Johnny Knoxville, again, the 50-year-old gray-haired non-wrestler, beat Sami Zayn in an anything goes match in 14 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And anyway, so moving on to two actual good wrestlers here. 4 actually, excuse me. Sasha Banks and Naomi against Carmella and Queen Zelina. And 8 good wrestlers: Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler, in a 4-way tag team match for the WWE Women's Championship. So, all I can say about this is that it was completely frenetic. You had so much energy all the time, women doing great spots all over the place, and Sasha Banks and Naomi, who, by the way, seem to have some chemistry, they retained the titles.
They won the titles.
Did they win the title? I thought they were champions. My mistake.
They are champions now, but they won.
They are champions, right? Yeah. There you go.
You know what surprises me? First thing I'm going to mention is that as the entrances were happening, I sat back and I said, there are a lot of my multiverse wives in this match. Yeah. I mean, Zelina Vega, Carmella, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Sasha Banks. That's 6 out of the 8. It's impressive. Yeah. Vince knows how to get me back. Well, he made me chuckle beating up a Montreal fan. Does that mean Vince is a closet Leafs fan? Is that what's happening? I just side note. Sure. Anyway, it would endear me a lot more to Vince McMahon if he was a Leaf fan. But so 6 of my multiverse wives in the match. But beyond that, what an entertaining performance by all of them, everybody. It was just wow.
And I want two people who I really want to call out. Number one, Sasha Banks.
She's a star.
She's a huge star.
She's an absolute star.
I love the blue-green hair too. By the way, that's just an aside. Okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Rhea Ripley is somebody who I think should still be challenging for one of the singles belts.
Agreed.
She is legitimately tough.
Agreed.
She also, and I'm not going to go into this because again it's a PG-13 show. She has quite a following on Twitter because of the way she covers other women for the pinfall.
I gotta be honest. I appreciate her pinfall skills. Yeah. I like him quite a bit. I'm not going to elaborate because it's going to get non-PG. But
yeah, again, she has quite a following.
Right. So. Yeah, I'm one of those followers. No, again, Sasha's a star. Rhea, she should be one of the women's champions, and you saw like a singles champion, and you saw her star power when she battled Charlotte at WrestleMania for the NXT title. What was it, a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
But I'm actually really glad that Liv Morgan is getting some time to shine because I think she's underrated. She needs more airtime, more reps, but I think you could have a potential, at the very least, tag champion there. Mm-hmm. I don't think her and Rhea are going to last as a tag champion.
Well, they seemingly broke up, didn't they? Or at least there's some problems
they
there.
did, but then Rhea came back on Raw and said, all's forget. I got us a championship match next week, but I still think they're going to separate. And I think Rhea's going to turn on her at the end of that match.
Yeah.
But I'd still like to see her in a tag team. So and again, I'm gonna say this because I feel like I have to. I like to see Rhea reject her, and maybe once Alexa comes back and goes from cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs once she gets rid of the doll and stuff, I could see her and Liv teaming up.
Yeah. I've enjoyed the therapy sessions with her, by the way, and
I enjoyed the therapy sessions just because I got to see her on TV. They haven't shown her since Elimination Chamber. Again, she's getting married. Well, that's fine. Again, it should have been me, but I digress. But when that's done, I hope she's back on TV.
Likewise, I've always thought that Alexa Bliss was
I hope this isn't
great
a
performer.
case of Bray Wyatt where he comes back once and then he's released. Because if she is released, hello AEW, sign her.
Sure.
But no, so I could see them as Liv and Alexa as a tag team. Or another thought process I could see is what if when Rhea turns on Liv, which I think is coming on Monday, what if she joins Edge's faction?
Oh, that's a good point. Sure.
Because the whole thing, Edge's whole thing is his stable is for people that feel undervalued or underappreciated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And they could use that excuse with Rhea. Well, it was like I was a champion, but the company screwed me over in favor of Charlotte and other people. And Liv, she could use the excuse that Liv wasn't holding her weight. I was carrying that partnership and join up with Edge. I could see her.
That's a good point. Yeah, I would like that. Sure. So, what would you give this match?
It's a 4.5. I loved it. I thought the women did a great job. I think when Sasha does that move where she basically comes off the apron and does like that knee splash.
Yeah.
Then that's gonna hurt regardless.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. I never get tired of seeing Charlotte or Sasha's matches.
The backstab. What is it? The bank
statement.
Yeah, the bank statement. That's it. Yes.
The bank statement.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt too. But it's such an effective. Like her moves, I feel like you can believe they can knock you out.
And she's another athlete. I saw an interview one time with her and Bianca. They actually had an arm wrestling match, and of course Bianca won. But it wasn't the easiest thing. Sasha is a strong, athletic woman, so she gave Bianca a run for her money.
And as she calls herself, she's the blueprint. So
the boss, yeah.
But she also calls herself the blueprint. So
right.
Those Zack Snyder fans with that hashtag better talk to Sasha Banks because I think they got the wrong blueprint. But yeah, I digress. 4.5.
I'm going to give it a 4. And the only reason I'm going to knock it down a couple of pegs is because it only went 10 minutes and 50 seconds. But it was a great match.
It should have got longer, and they should have canceled that sham of a match.
Exactly.
But what did you think of was there any spots that you want to call out from that match?
No, the one that you just talked about where Sasha comes off the apron and does that double knee. I always like that move.
Yeah.
So it worries me that she's going to land on her knee the wrong way, but yeah.
And if she ever wants to practice that on me, I'm available. Just
okay. Again, keep it PG-13 now.
I did. Okay. I did. Pat myself in the back. I did.
Barry Horowitz, though.
There's a lot worse ways that could have gone, sir.
Yeah, Barry Horowitz. Right. Okay. All right. So next up, we have Edge versus AJ Styles. And this match was a little slower than I would have expected.
I agree.
But again, the big news, as Adam's already alluded to, is that Damian Priest came out and gave Edge the opening to hit the spear to beat AJ Styles in 24 minutes and 5 seconds. I really do, even though this match wasn't as good as I'd hoped it would be, I really like the direction that they
It
take.
was a solid match, but it was a little bit of a letdown. I will say.
For those two guys, you expect the classic, right?
I expected a 5-star match, but it wasn't.
Yeah, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good.
Yeah, it was just slower, more methodical.
Yeah.
I expected more,
Yeah. But like you, I like this idea of a faction.
Yeah.
Forming with Damian Priest. I want to see how it goes.
Okay, now a couple of things regarding that. So Edge's entrance, does it remind you a little bit of? Did it give off some Undertaker vibes?
A little bit. I mean, the way he uses that blue light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the throne and the whole.
And I like these, wearing the suits and things like that.
Yeah, it's almost like a more sophisticated version of the Brood, like an upscaled version of the Brood.
Yeah.
It's like a cult.
Yeah.
But minus the vampire.
That's it. Yeah, like if the Brood moves to Manhattan.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, they're obviously, it seems to me like they're angling for more wrestlers in this faction. So it would be great to have a female member.
Could Alexa join this group? Because she's kind of going through an identity crisis. So
sure.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Alexa.
Give me Alexa, Rhea, yeah, both of them.
Hmm?
And with Damian and Edge, I'd cheer for that group.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you give this match?
3.5. Again, I liked it. It was good. It felt like they really sold the idea of, AJ becoming unhinged, and sort of Edge's mind games throughout the weeks has really sort of caught up to him. And the punches and stuff were stiff. So you really get that sense of this is a hated, these two guys hate each other. But I just expected more from the two of them.
Yeah, I'm going to give it the same 3.5. It was good, perfectly passable, but I was hoping for something that would, a 5-star classic. But
yeah.
So next up, we have Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch against the New Day. The New Day being Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. New Day came out in Big E tribute gear, both of them wearing the singlets and the oversized coats with the sleeveless coats.
Right.
The story goes, obviously, Kofi was very upset because their match was cut from night 1, and they were only given 1 minute and 40 seconds here. I just want to say I was not on board, obviously. For those of you, if you're tuning in for the first time, Kofi's my favorite male wrestler in WWE. I was not on board with the way he was treated here. Of all the shenanigans that went on both nights, you would have think they could find a spot for a former champion like Kofi. So, I didn't like what happened here, and it was kind of a toss-away match. So, your thoughts?
Okay, so the whole thing about them coming out in Big E tribute gear, and they're fighting. One of the guys that's in this other tag team is the guy that injured Big E.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the guy feel like a piece of crap, but the person giving that maneuver, like the guy taking the move, is in your hands. So you got to be way more careful when you're doing that move. And first of all, second of all, maybe doing it on the outside isn't the smartest of ideas.
I would agree.
Now, the other thing, the reason why I say that is because I can't remember which old school wrestler was saying that usually if you're doing that move correctly, you're positioning your opponent, the person that's going to take the move, to land more on his shoulders. So you're kind of turning him as you flip him. There was no turn when Ridge Holland did it. And that's where the problem, because again, Big E is locked into position. He cannot turn himself. Right? You've got him locked. You can't see what I'm doing. You've got him locked like this. What is he supposed to? How is he supposed to turn? Right. So it's the onus of the person giving the move to do that slight position shift so that when he lands on one of his shoulders,
right,
as opposed to the back of his freaking head. So not to be a jerk, but Ridge Holland was at fault here. Second, and I'm sure he feels terrible about it, but playing that into the storyline, given the way the New Day was dressed, they should have won this match. And if you're really going to have a squash match, then it should be New Day just laying waste out of sheer anger and frustration.
I would agree.
On these two guys. Instead, WWE went the exact opposite way and accomplishes nothing. And I don't understand what was the point.
Right. Again, I'm going to give this match a 1.5 just because, New Day did a couple innovative moves. They always do, but they are just rudderless right now.
It's a 1 just because the New Day are there. Yeah.
And I certainly hope, like I said, that WWE has some kind of plan. Kofi's talked about retirement. I don't know if Big E's ever coming back. I think his status is still up in the air. Might be better for him to retire. To me, you would want to make the last, kind of the last gasps of the New Day, who at one point were some of your most over guys in the company. You would want to use them and get all you could get out of them before, Kofi goes off to retirement.
I saw an interview recently. He said, I've thought about it, but he goes, I've heard where he was talking to Pat McAfee.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, basically, I've come to the conclusion, when I stop having fun, that's when I know I'll call it. He goes, right now I'm having fun, so I'll still go. But when it stops being fun, that's when so I don't think his retirement is imminent.
No, but you got to think this past weekend wasn't fun.
Right. And so I'd like to see them have one more run with the titles.
Sure.
Just me personally. But yeah, this match was nothing to write home about.
Yeah. And again, just kind of sticking them on here. Again, when you gave Johnny Knoxville all that time the King of the Ring and your first African-born champion, you can't find 10 minutes for these guys. Come on.
You really don't like that match, eh? I've never seen you hate a match this much.
I've always said, again, I have no problems with celebrities on the outside of the ring, but when you put them in the ring, it depends always the worst part.
It depends on the celebrity. So like somebody like, if you're bringing in another fighter from another realm of,
oh no, somebody like Floyd Mayweather or Akibono, that's fine.
Or when they brought in Mike Tyson, that made sense for him to get involved because, or like Mr. T, even Mr. T, for God's sakes.
But Mr. T looks like somebody who's threatening. He looks like
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Johnny Knoxville, I could beat the crap out of Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean Johnny Knoxville looks like somebody I'd walk past him at the gym and sneeze and knock him over. So
especially nowadays.
Yeah. So, was that a comment on him being small, or the fact that I sneeze a lot?
No, just sneezes are deadly nowadays, especially with the world is. Yeah. You sneeze on somebody, that may be more than knock them down.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous. So.
And again, I want to say this is nothing personal against Johnny Knoxville. I just don't look like people.
He's not a wrestler. Yeah.
That they're not wrestlers. You don't want to see somebody if you're sold a hero in a movie, that's who you want to see triumphant at the end. You don't want to see a background player who has nothing to do with the plot suddenly in the key moment overcome the villain.
For example, can you imagine the third act of the Batman? If Alfred was the one to save the day?
Or imagine somebody who's
no offense, but Alfred, you're not Batman.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the Riddler was overcome by some Joe Schmo off the street? You'd be like, what was that?
Or the girl or the mayor, the new mayor, if she came with a foreign object and knocked the Riddler upside the head.
Right. Anyway, so all right, now we are on to it. This is difficult to quantify here because it was actually 2 matches in one. It started out with Pat McAfee.
Yeah, but one was a gimmick and one was an actual match.
Right. Pat McAfee against Austin Theory with Vince McMahon. Pat McAfee won the first match by pinfall, 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Pat McAfee, who I'm not the biggest fan of him as an announcer, but he surprised me with the moves that he did here. I had seen him wrestle before, but not this well. The one that I really liked was when he popped up to the top rope.
Yeah, first of all, he entertains me as an announcer.
Okay.
The pairing of him and Michael Cole, I think, works really well. And the general excitement that Pat McAfee has for what he's commentating on is admirable and infectious. So you got to give him credit for that. But I was not expected to be that impressed with Pat McAfee in ring.
Yeah, got to give him his due.
He was fantastic. When you were the spot you were talking about, which was the spot of the night when for me in the match, when he leaped up on the top rope and gave the suplex to Austin Theory. And again, Austin Theory plays he's like the millennial, the modern day punk, that always with his goddamn phone and shit like that, right? And so, like, he's one of those guys. He's probably a Montreal fan because I enjoyed seeing him get the crap beat out of him, and that seems to be the theme of the night.
Well, we definitely don't have to worry about this podcast with YouTube saying that it's for kids because.
Why? What I say?
Because you just used 2 curse words.
Sorry.
So we're good. We're good. We can say that this is definitely for adults. So anyway, go ahead.
I know, but anyway, sorry, but you enjoy seeing a guy like that arrogance, that entitlement to get his butt kicked, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that. But again, just like the sheer quality of the performance and the in-ring ability of Pat McAfee, who would have expected that? And I know he spent some time in NXT, did he not?
He did, and I'd seen him wrestle before, but not to this level. He did a very good job.
And again, you know what I really enjoyed about it was how excited and pro Pat McAfee Michael Cole was.
Yeah.
You really get the sense that these guys appreciate and are friends with each other and like each other. And I really like that. And so on his match with Austin Theory, I'll give it a 4 for what it was.
Likewise. Yeah.
And he came out with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And I must say, all of them, the whole squad, is on the list.
Okay. Okay. Which made sense since they were in Texas.
I may start watching football just because of the cheerleaders.
Yeah. But speaking of football, I liked on one of the pre-shows, George Kittle, who plays for my team, the 49ers. And, of course, he was getting booed by the Cowboys fans. And he turned around and looked at him and was like, you can't boo till next year because we booted the Cowboys out of the playoffs. So I like that. Anyway. Now, next up, as soon as this happened, Vince McMahon came out, who, by the way, is looking much better than he did like a couple of years ago. Vince McMahon came out and challenged Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee challenged him.
Or Pat McAfee challenged him. Vince McMahon won by pinfall in what was not a great match.
No, it was a squash match where Vince, a couple of clotheslines, he did a punt kick. Literally.
Yeah. 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
But then the music hit, and out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin again.
Oh, boy. And you just knew.
And it was great. The crowd was into it. But he gave Vince what was...
Well, no. Wait, first of all,
Go ahead.
Austin Theory, you got to give him props. Because he sold that sell of the Stone Cold Stunner.
Yeah, okay, I should say that, yeah.
Was on the level of The Rock and Scott Hall. Like, that's how good the sell job for the Stunner.
That was an amazing sell.
And then we go to the sell.
On the flip side.
The scenario of Vince McMahon. I love that he's like, Vince is already like, no. And he's like, no, just a beer. We'll have one beer. And you see Vince, just one beer. No. And you can see Vince bartering with him, like, don't stun me. Just one beer. And there was a moment where, Vince is drinking the beer, and he's treating it like a wine tasting where he's like, you can see him making the beer. And all you hear is Michael Cole's, oh, Mr. McMahon is a wine man.
Yeah, exactly.
For whatever reason, that made me laugh.
So Stone Cold gave Vince, I don't know, Vince looked like a newborn calf. And
you know what it was? Because he sold the kick so hard.
Yeah. What was funny is that Steve Austin seemed to be cracking up at it. Like, he lost his composure, but just cracking up at it.
Like, that he had to help he literally, after he kicks him, because McMahon tries to sell it and he goes into the rope, he had to hold McMahon up in order to help him up to give him the stunner.
That was it's like a bad movie that you know is bad going in, but it's so memorable because it's so bad. That's what this stunner was.
He does the stunner, the way McMahon fell, it was literally like I thought he was gonna. I thought he broke his legs.
Oh.
And then Pat McAfee gets in there, and he stuns Pat McAfee too.
Yeah. He said, Steve, that's the thing over the years. You can be Steve Austin's best friend. He's going to kick you in the stomach and stun you. So, yeah.
And again, the amount of beer that Steve Austin drank over the 2 nights.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope he didn't drive himself home.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would hope not.
All right, so again, 4 for the Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory match.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rate the McMahon thing because that was pure. It was hilarious. It was fun. Yeah. But that's all it was.
Yeah, it was more angle than anything else. It doesn't really deserve a rating. So, but next up, the big match: the Universal Champion Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman against the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Winner take all for title, and a lot has been made about how short this match was: 12 minutes and 15 seconds. And I think there's something to that. However, what we got was good.
Absolutely.
I really liked how they worked together. A lot of false finishes. I like just the detail at the beginning of Brock taking off his gloves and how concerned Roman looked by that.
I love the fact that a couple of things. They really made this feel like a big fight, They made this feel like the main event, like it was, but it was last on the card. But they made it feel like a big match, right? Important.
Yes.
So that was good. The other thing that made me laugh was poor Mike Rome. He's trying to do his job, which is announce the in-ring competitors. First, he gets the microphone stolen by Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman wants to announce Roman Reigns. Then he goes to announce Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar steals the microphone to announce himself. So I thought that was funny.
Right. But yeah, they did, they traded finishers back and forth. At one point, Brock locked Roman in a Kimura lock, and it looked like maybe Roman was ready to tap. Roman gets out of it, keeps selling the arm, but hits Brock with a nasty-looking spear, gets the 1, 2, 3. And if there's a problem that WWE has had in like the post-Attitude Era, and especially like once CM Punk left, they seem to have problems making stars. That's not the case with Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns comes out, you know that the biggest star in the business is there.
Yeah.
And him winning both titles at the end, when he eventually does get beaten for a belt, that's going to be a big deal too. So WWE,
which is why I think it'll be Roman, which is why I think it'll be Cody, but that's just me.
We talked about last year's main event was WWE finally hitting the mark with Roman, showcasing him as the biggest star in the business. They have showcased that all through the year. And for whatever other parts of WWE's presentation that doesn't work, what they've done with Roman is brilliant.
Like, I think now they have legitimately 2 stars on both brands. They have Roman and now Cody. Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 stars of each brand. Yeah. Each brand. The problem is, outside of those 2, like, yes, you have Drew McIntyre, who should be up on that level, but instead they have him feuding with now the guy who just got put in a giant mousetrap. That's really going to do wonders for Drew. So Drew should be there. Bobby Lashley on Raw is kind of there, but again, how long do you have with Bobby Lashley? The Miz is on that level too, but where is the new blood that's going to eventually have to replace these guys? Like, Braun Breaker has a chance to be that. But WWE's got to build them and have it be continuous, not a couple months and then go, okay, fall back into the side. Apparently, Tommaso Ciampa's probably coming up to the main roster.
Heard that, yeah.
So, but again, which Raw, like, Raw right now is more stacked with, I think, like, because you've got Cody, you've got The Miz, you've got Bobby, right? So that's three guys that I would consider, main event level stars. Okay. On SmackDown, you've got Roman, Drew, when you put him in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn is not the right spot.
Right.
So potentially,
Yeah.
potentially Drew. And who else? I mean, Ricochet's your Intercontinental Champion, but they want Ricochet to be a big deal. But okay, push him to be that. Like, I could see, if I'm WWE, I bring Tommaso Ciampa in there into SmackDown and have him win the IC title.
Well, and that was my question. And again, I think it was the right move to have Roman win both belts. But I was like, where do they go from here? If Roman continues to be on SmackDown, is he going to go between both shows?
For right now, he is. That's what I've
But is he going to feud with one person on one show and one person on another?
I would assume that would be the case. Because I don't think this unification, unless they prove me wrong and come out with a unified belt,
mm-hmm.
I don't think this unification is going to last all that long.
You could be right. But interesting to see where they go with this.
Like, my question is, do you just take one belt off of Roman? Being the Raw, the WWE Championship would go to Cody, is what I would, because that's the one his father was technically battling for all those years ago. And then keep Roman the SmackDown champion.
They could.
Right?
They could.
Because otherwise, again, I think, to me, if you're going to eventually, and the plan, it looks like at some point, you can kind of see them going the route of bringing, I don't think Braun Breaker will be long for NXT. I think he's going to have a relatively shorter run and be brought up to the main roster. If you're bringing both Ciampa and Breaker up, I don't put them on the same brand. I would put one. So if Cody, because the other guy that you could kind of build, if you do it right and you build him up well enough, Braun Breaker's got, both Cody and Braun have family legacy within wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna have somebody beat Roman, it should be like, if he's talking about the bloodline, family legacy, and Cody's talking about the legacy of his father, and Braun, regardless of whether WWE wants to publicly acknowledge it or not, is a Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
One of those two guys should be the ones to beat Roman.
Well, they obviously need to make new stars.
Play into the family legacy of that.
Yeah. Now, one question, since we're done with all the matches here. One question.
Oh, what would be the rating of this match?
I'm going to give it a 4. I thought it was solid. It should have gone longer. It should have been 20 or 25 minutes. Absolutely. But solid 4. Third best match of the night, or of the card.
Yeah.
Now, is there any chance Roman goes babyface? What do you think?
I mean, okay, I would say there's a chance, but here's my caveat. Every time he's been a babyface, the crowd has booed the crap out of him. Like, the only time they didn't boo him was when he came on out of character, 2 times. When he announced that the leukemia resurfaced, and then when he came out and announced that the leukemia was in remission. Those were the only time that babyface Roman got cheered. But every time when he's playing the character, and it's babyface Roman, he gets booed mercilessly. He gets cheered now as the villain.
As the tribal chief, yes.
Yeah. So you've got to bring him up against somebody so vile that people would want to cheer for him. So who is that guy? Now, here's the thing. If you built up this faction property, it could be Edge.
Could be.
Like, why? Now, I don't know if they're going to do this, but if the long-term goal is to get Cody there, right, in that spot, to beat Roman as a champion, if they do it like I said and have it done, like a year-long lead up towards that, what if you have a situation where, maybe Edge doesn't win one of the titles, but what if Edge starts intervening in Roman's matches? Because remember, Edge had a couple of chances at the title in the three-way matches with Roman and right?
Right, Roman and Daniel Bryan. And by the way, he mentioned Roman in one of his recent promos?
Right. So what if he starts attacking Roman with a chair, doing the concerto a couple of times? That would be your way to turn Roman face. If Edge becomes so vile and goes after him to on the next level, then I think it could work.
What if he adds the Usos to his new faction?
If they turn on Roman?
Yeah.
Ooh, see, that would be interesting because now I don't know if you saw SmackDown, but last night, Roman cut a promo saying, I've got 2 belts. These guys got the tag titles, but they only have 1 belt. We need both. We need to unify the tag titles. Right. So he gave them the order. He sent them to Raw this Monday to go challenge for the tag titles. I don't think they're going to win them. So what if they lose and go back to SmackDown and Roman starts giving them crap for saying, you guys failed?
Yep, that's
a good point. And then Edge swoops in and says, you know what? Or what if they do win the tag titles and still Roman is getting the spotlight? And then Edge says, look, he brought you in as the muscle. He doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
So what if Edge starts corrupting their, Yeah, there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
But because there was a brief time when he was, there was brief times where they cheered him.
Right. Yeah.
But can you keep part of the head of the table aspect and be a babyface?
See, that's the thing. I don't think he can. I don't think this is a character that you can translate to being a babyface. So that's why I wonder. I'm like, I know WWE would rather have a babyface as their centerpiece.
Yeah.
But if they do turn, I'm worried if they do turn Roman babyface that they're going to screw it up.
Yeah, because they've tried the Hulk Hogan route with Roman.
Right. And fans don't want that.
People don't want it. Now, Cody's getting some Hulk Hogan level kind of cheers. The hero, the babyface, the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? So he could be that, and he could be the guy. And I guarantee you, for him to re-sign, they made him a promise that they were going to give him a run with that title. So
you could be right. Sure.
I don't think he signs if they don't give him that kind of a promise that, okay, at some point we're going to pay off that storyline where you get to win the belt.
Well, like I said, I've read a lot about them positioning him already for some kind of big.
So he's got that. He's like that. He's based on the couple of pops that he got WrestleMania and then the following Monday. He could be that Hogan level babyface, and the crowd would go for it. I don't know that. I mean, Roman's got the body, the superhero Hogan body type, but I don't think the fans want him as that babyface. I think they like Tribal Chief Roman.
Yeah,
I even like him better than like that.
Oh yeah,
It's like it's got those NWO vibes, and I like it.
And Roman has improved so much in the ring too. Yeah. He's not just the spear and the Superman punch anymore.
Yeah.
You know, he uses the chokes, he uses locks. You know, he can make matches very different now, whereas before he was just relying on those big moves.
I just hope we're done with Brock.
Well, I got to think that Brock's, at least for now, I got to believe that, you know, Brock only had a certain number of, it was a finite number of matches.
I think officially I'm now tired of the Roman Brock match. Can we let it go? Well, we've seen it enough now.
I mean, to me, that was the way they ended at WrestleMania was saying, you know, Brock's a little past his prime now. Roman is the guy, and we're using, you know, Brock to elevate Roman. That's the way I translated what we saw.
Which I was surprised by. I was surprised with how clean.
Oh, likewise, yeah.
So there's lots of ways they can go, but I think Cody eventually taking one of the titles from, because they said he would be one of the you know the dirt sheets, if you will, said that at least for now Roman would be on both shows. For now, suggests to me that this unification ain't gonna last long. And if that's the case, you can have Roman lose one of the titles, but keep the SmackDown one. Universal. So Cody could be a Raw champion. And
that's a good point. It's a good point to see where they go with this from now. You know, where do you go with the two belts?
It happens in one of two places. The Roman versus thing. It either happens in SummerSlam or Mania next year. You know what will dictate the plan? I guarantee you this will happen. If they can schedule Rock and Roman at Mania, maybe.
Then do you think it's Roman versus Cody at SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you talk about turning Roman face. Here's the way to do it. We haven't seen Rock in a long time in a wrestling ring. Last time he was babyface Rock again, right? What if when he comes back to facilitate this head of the table, who's the tribal chief? I don't think babyface Rock comes back and does that. I think it's Hollywood Rock that comes back and does that.
But do you really think the crowd would boo Rock at this point?
I don't know if they'd boo him, but there's a way you can get him to do that.
Okay.
If he comes back years, like he's been, 2006, when was the last time he was there? 13? 16? When was it?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was when he did that with Miz, when he did those two WrestleManias with Cena and Miz.
No, it wasn't. It was Cena, right? It was Cena was big feud. So I don't know. I just think that if you're going to do a tribal chief, like a battle for the throne, I don't think you can have, you know, superstar hero Rock come back.
Right. Yeah.
Because the tribal chief, the whole thing about being the tribal chief, he's like, you're the boss. You're the, you know. Right. So I think Hollywood Rock would fit into that. And again, you can have them start cheering the Rock, and then he starts doing even more dastardly stuff than Roman does.
That would be interesting. Sure.
Like if he starts beating, like if you think he's going to come to rescue like the scenario, right?
What, to rescue Roman,
or like to rescue the WWE from the clutches of the tyranny of Roman, right? If that's what you see, if it starts out like that, but all of a sudden one of his promos, he's like, "Nah, I just want to prove that I'm the, you know."
That's an interesting way to go about
right?
it. Yeah. Well,
because the whole knock on Raw, and he's like, remember when he came back as Hollywood, they booed him because he had left.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He could be like, "Well, you thought?" He goes, "That twice you've turned on me. Once when it was like he was the Nation of Domination, and once when he went to Hollywood and he came back, so he could bring that into play."
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go now.
Roman is talking about, you know, the sellout, the buy rate, and all this jazz, right? Right. But The Rock can come back and says, "Okay, but when I was on Raw, the ratings were here. When I was on WrestleMania, the ratings were here. When I was selling T-shirts, the sales were here. So you could start with that whole,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the way you kind of turn Rock. In that respect, the ego comes more into play than anything else. So it could be very interesting. Who knows? Again, the Rock schedule would have to allow that. We'll see. But they both hinted at, you know, that if he was going to do it, it would be something with Roman. If he was ever going to come back and have one more match.
Yeah.
So, and Roman has talked about it as well. So we'll see. But I think those are the two scenarios for either Mania next year or SummerSlam. But
Makes sense. I mean, like I said,
Cody's getting one of the belts at some point.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see. But overall, solid 2 nights of WrestleMania. I enjoyed the show.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, even with the parts I didn't like, there was more positives than negatives.
Yeah, I agree.
Outside of that one match that I'd be happy to never talk about again, I thought it was a lot of fun.
So did you want to attempt to do WrestleMania Backlash?
You mean for next month?
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that.
Which is going to be May 8th.
Sure.
So.
Okay. You can tune in right here on Multiverse Musings, the vidcast. You can also catch us on Podbean.
Yeah, and that's the first plug of the show right at the end. That's impressive. But if you want to talk more wrestling with Donnie and I, you can on social media. So, Donnie, where do they find you?
You can find me on Twitter as the Emerald Enthusiast. Let's talk comics. Let's talk collectibles. Let's talk wrestling. Let's talk Green Lantern.
Awesome. And if you want to talk with me on social media, it's at Adam_Leafs fan on Twitter. The podcast network has a Twitter profile of its own, at MMNPDC. Mm-hmm. We have a Facebook group, which is somewhere in the description below. Click that, and I will add you. We can continue the conversation there. But remember that WrestleMania is forever. From the first main event on night 1 to the last main event on night 2.
That's a good one.
So long, everybody.
So long, everyone.